16 of the world's greatest players arrived in London town to take down the Premier League title. 8 players now remain. Tonight, the final table concludes and we crown a new champion. Premier League Poker is now one of the most anticipated tournaments on the circuit. It's a huge honor to get an invite, and 16 players have been putting all of their skills to the test in a bid to make it to the final table. Now we are on the edge of our seats as the final gets back underway. Tonight, a new winner will join an elite group of players who've earned the right to call themselves a Premier League champion. This is what happened last time here in London.
Last time, the finalists took their seats, and this is the lineup. WSOP bracelet winner Jennifer Tilly, German tournament specialist Tobias Reinkemeier, main event winner Jonathan Duhamel, last season's runner-up Jungleman, high-stakes cash player Dan Shak, English poker superstar Sam Trickett, EPT high roller champion Talal Shakerchi, the one-drop champion Antonio Esfandiari. The Players' League points were converted to chips, and it was Tobias Reinkemeier who held the chip lead. But not for long. Sam Trickett won an early pot against the Jungle.
This is the weirdest hand I played all tournament.
There was a rare error from Jonathan Duhamel, who was very nearly sent packing, but was saved by a split pot.
Definitely wrong, dude.
Antonio Esfandiari doubled up when he went up against Jennifer Tilly.
You are one luck box.
And Jungleman won some significant pots to climb the leaderboard, and he now sits at the top with over 550,000 chips. So we are still 8-handed after 6 levels. Jennifer Tilly and Sam Trickett are trailing at the bottom and need some double-ups to keep in the game. And as the blinds go up, we will be seeing some eliminations very soon. Here is a reminder of what they are playing for at the final table. Remember, players have won $2,000 per point during the league stages, and now they have a chance to add to that check. The winner will take home a massive $450,000 on top of the money they have already won so far.
With so much at stake, we're guaranteed an exciting finish to this season's Premier League. Let's go back down to your commentary team, Jessie May and 13-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner, Phil Hellmuth.
Blinds are going to be going up to 8 and 16,000. I mean, even Esfandiari, V-chip of 17%, and Reinkemeier, I guess they just figure
Good call on Jaeger.
it looks fishy to do anything else as long as there's 8 players, Phil?
Yeah, it's 8-handed, and they just have to do a lot of folding right now. You know, that's all there is to it.
You got his bourbon shot? His bourbon. Okay, we're good. Everyone got their shot? Jennifer, you have your shot?
Find out if they have them in the booth.
If you guys have your shot,
100 hands ago, this really could have sped the game up.
Jonathan, good?
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Here's to a good Premier League.
To Jungle Soup.
Everybody had a shot except Talal, right?
Talal's a teetotaler, so he's
First drink in England. Let's go.
it's not based on the gameplay. It's just not his thing,
Right, got it.
which is fun.
It's all going to go down
These are
eventually.
true, like, Canadians, you know? Woo. It does give you a kick, that stuff. Just a little woo.
Listen, whoever goes, we're all heroes this week. Whoever goes out even first was a hero this week. No, just for surviving the week, getting here.
This week was tough. Tobias, you going back home after this?
I live in London, so...
Oh, you live here?
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that. I'd love some quality time with you.
Even you, Sam.
Okay, Jesse and I are about to do some shots.
Meanwhile, Talal Shakerchi is about to. Looks like he's about to go broke here, bluffing.
I don't want to see a
Really?
card. I don't want to.
I promise I'm not going to play a hand of poker for 2 weeks. What? Think they're true? I'm going to drink lots of alcohol.
Even last night, I wasn't even excited for the final table until we got here. I was
Alright, better in Vegas.
Did Jonathan check behind him on the flop?
November 9.
Nice. Nicely done.
I mean,
Is it like just this? I've been playing
This putt is probably over.
I haven't taken a break either.
to the choice center.
Okay, they want to witness us doing our shot. Hold on.
Even if it weren't.
I think this is over. As they say in India, get it India.
So what is it about Australia, then Macau? Okay, so it's the London games, and then I played this. The whole concept is that everyone is
You're half my age.
That stuff has a bite. And by the way, I think that's my first drinking when I've been here a week.
By the way, the
Right.
Well, I arrived and it's just all about the sleep and and blah blah blah, and then you have to play the Premier League, and we played a lot of long sessions, Jesse. 12-hour sessions.
Right, and there's a lot of.
We'd play a lot of hours, and then somehow you're on this weird schedule from America. One time I actually slept 3 different times between matches.
Find yourself waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And
Yeah,
then,
well, one day at 7:30, then I slept another 2, and then I slept another 5 starting at noon.
So 50,000 people bring in like the stuff that they made, and they just go crazy.
It's the biggest party you've ever been to, but it's also very soul-searching kind of thing.
How's the weather at that time?
Hot during the day and cold at night.
Seat 2 raises to
So you have to bring
32,000.
like
Seat 3 fold.
costumes, everyday costumes. Well, I'm blessed to have 1 shot.
Seat 4 fold.
In August.
End of August.
That might work actually, time-wise.
The only you don't care about it.
Talal, he doesn't want to play a pot against him. Jungleman, does he? Duhamel's not afraid of Jungleman, I'll tell you that.
and these are the 2 big stacks on the table right now. Duhamel and Jungleman both around $500,000, which amazingly is only 30 big blinds effective each. I mean, it's like, and these are the 2 big stacks.
That is amazing. And look at this, they both flopped a flush draw.
It's even getting
And with Duhamel's aggression, I don't see how they can avoid getting the money in here, Phil. Can they?
They're both pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Now, Duhamel also knows that he must know that he's one of the chip leaders, and this is one of the other chip leaders.
Right, so classic tournament strategy with those short stacks out there means he should play
in. He moved all in.
And that's the moving all in because you don't want to be all in, right?
Exactly. So that's interesting. So now, Jungleman, what can he do if somehow
like a little bit less?
Duhamel has like the ace-high flush draw? Jungleman's just dead.
I mean, with all the other short stacks out there, is he supposed to fold?
I think he's going to fold.
Good, I guess.
Wow.
Aces.
Look at the percentages. I mean, if the cards get flipped,
I can't
Duhamel
believe he's 28%. That must be because some of the other cards are out there.
Man.
Take the shirt off, John.
Really
Just Hulk
should.
it off and then make a decision.
It's unbelievable that happened.
I'd love to see that.
Unbelievable. I'm so tilted that happened.
Yeah, I like to.
I don't think I can call. And just if anything else happens, I continue.
And Phil, if there was a bunch of big stacks out and they still had the same, then it becomes more correct for Jungleman to call because of the number of chips in the tournament, sort of thing, or
if Jungleman had the the ace-high flush draw here. Oh, you know what, Jesse, ask that question again. But first, let me say, if he had the ace-high flush draw, he'd probably snap it because he knows that if his opponent's moving in here, all of it, so it's likely his opponent's likely to have a draw as well.
Right. Interesting.
That's when I love poker.
The rabbit cam would tilt me.
Yeah, rabbit cam. Those are good shots.
He doesn't want a rabbit. Look at Jonathan! Look at Jonathan!
There's nothing more tilt than betting equity.
Show him your hand, Jonathan. Show it to him.
the rabbit cam, right, John?
just tell them straight out.
For TV, Rabbit Cat.
Yeah, cool.
Let me just check for the only time in my life that I ever checked there.
Jungleman, oh my God, OMG.
He said it's the only time in his life he's ever folded a big flush draw. Is that what he said?
Yeah, and he would have busted him.
But Phil, I mean, just because I'm not sure I understand. I mean, there a lot of times you do kind of snap that off with a flush draw, and it had something to do with the fact that there's so many short stacks out there. Not just the fact that he was getting a bad price. Is that right?
Well, it was a beautiful thing that he raised as much as he raised. Right. Duhamel, you know, him just shoving there against the other big stack, shoving in his face, makes him lay it down. But any amount that he raises, Jungleman's going to call. The next card is the King of Hearts, Jesse.
He's actually, Jonathan Duhamel at this final table has tried to go broke about 3 times, and no one else is letting him. The deck won't let him. The players won't let him. They're just... It's just Duhamel all the time.
5 is all in.
Is that an open shove from the button from Shakerchi?
Wow.
Come on, baby.
What's all sweat? 110. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Then they all went silent. He must have it, and he does.
Ace Jack. Wow.
Wow.
And there's not that much between them. Shakerchi's got about 50K back. That's all.
My mom's gonna have a heart attack. Somebody get a camera on my mom. She might have a heart attack.
How good is Antonio running if he wins this pot? He was supposed to be in with Ace Jack against 2 kings. Instead, he found the spot with the Ace 8.
He runs good at life. He runs good at life, and why not? He's a good guy.
5 of clubs, 3 of spades, 4 of clubs.
That is a great flop for him, Antonio.
We don't want to chop.
3 of clubs.
What a great card for Antonio. I mean, there's 3 8s left in the deck for Talal, and he has some deuces.
Jack plays, and Talal very soon won't be. You said it, Phil. Chip leader Talal Shakerchi was either going to bam ahead or perhaps be a favorite to be first out.
Well,
he's now the short stack.
That is crazy. I mean, I called that he's chip leader and he may well go out 8th, and I wasn't even sure I could say that myself, but here he's done it. Just no patience, you know, just no patience. Just playing like it's an 8-handed table, playing like he's playing against a bunch of bad amateurs and not great players. He's not playing, you know, he's playing a strategy that might work against bad amateurs, all these raises and stuff, but he's dealing with great players now, you know.
Maybe 2 glasses of water.
Jennifer Tilly, Ace 6, she's all in.
3 is all in.
Oh my, how many chips does she have? 54,000?
And Talal picks up kings. Oh my goodness.
He's got a great spot to triple up and not even. I mean, does Trickett have to call here? He does. Of course he does, right?
38 to call. Oh my God.
I mean, both these players have very wide ranges. Shakerchi might just be, you know, taxi hand, right? I mean,
yeah. No, I mean, it's a very close situation, and I'm sure that Sam's going to count it and try to make the best decision he can. But 38,000 to call, right?
Yeah, you know, he's not even far off the equity here. I mean, look, they're giving him 22%. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a call. Calls, yeah.
His hand's not that bad. Would you make a pass here? I know he's got a short stack. He's only got 170,000 there, so it's like a quarter of his stack.
I really don't think that it's, you know, a bad call. I really don't.
So sick.
So close.
That's so sick.
I mean, the problem, I mean, of course, the problem is that, you know, if he had $1 million in chips, he would have thrown in the 36 a long time ago, right? But it's not that. It's how many chips do I have left, and do I want to lose a bunch of my chips with Jack 3 do I want to save this $33,000 or $32,000? Do I want to save it for when I have a stronger hand and get it doubled up and then redoubled? And, you know,
the upside is if he could win this pot, he could be up to like 300,000, which is. He's folded. Oh boy. Well,
yeah, but he just has to have a hand when he snap all goes all in.
I have one left.
that was it. He
Yep.
said he actually read Talal for a big hand.
He's right. He's right.
I had Jack 3.
You have 1,000?
I know, but he just has to have a real hand when he's. I don't know.
What were your 2 cards?
Jennifer needs an ace or she's down to 1 chip.
At least I've got some fold equity now.
Door card is an ace. Wow, Jennifer Tilley. And Trickett's watching from the sidelines thinking, please no Jack or 3.
I know.
Queen spade.
Oh my goodness, and now Jennifer loses to any spade or any king.
Red 5.
They had to make it interesting.
Red 5.
She holds, and for Talal Shakerchi, he ends up being the first player off this final table in Premier League Poker 6. It's been a great run for him in Group B, and then here at this final table.
I didn't like his play today. He was gambling way too much, taking way too many risks. He found himself getting his chips in, whether it was big chips or small chips, with the worst hand an awful lot.
We've just lost Talal from this final table. It was your debut here for the main event of the Premier League. Talk to us about the experience of coming in and playing all the way through to the final table.
It was really good fun. I enjoyed all of the heats and the final table. It's very fast poker, which makes for a lot of action. And yeah, I thought it was great. It was some good experience. I like playing against good players, and it's a very strong field.
Hopefully we get to see you again in the Premier League. Will you come back and play?
Oh, definitely. If I'm invited, I'd definitely like to play again.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
While the poker room at Asper's Casino continues to bustle, the final table of this season's Premier League Poker is underway. Before the break, we lost our first finalist, high-stakes player Talal Shakerchi. Now the action continues here in London.
7-handed at the final table of Premier League Poker 6. 7 sloppy, sleepy poker players who have slumbered through a marathon in this Premier League. And now the blinds are big.
Now, Jesse, you've been in the box 12 hours a day. Oh, wait, 14 hours a day for the last, 6 days. What did you say you're doing tomorrow?
Night in the box. So tomorrow, day in bed. I want to wake up and go back to sleep at least 4 times, as you say. But we all deserve it.
You're going to do some real shift sleeping tomorrow.
And here comes Sam Trickett all in. It's really the first look-in he's had.
C1 fold, C2
Yep.
fold.
Oh, Jennifer with ace-7. She may decide to, I think she'll fold, but she may decide to get busy with this. She should at least ask for a count.
On 5-5.
I mean, she can look at this and say Sam hasn't moved his chips in 20 hands. And then she can say it's Sam Trickett and he's only got 10 big blinds.
It's one thing to push off your stack, and it's another thing to call off your stack.
It's a good point.
I call.
She has
That's
called.
a good call. That's a good
Wow.
call. That is a good call. She has the best hand.
She sure does. And she's got him covered. Could Trickett be out 7th?
It looks like, well, Antonio looked like he was out 8th, but now he's chip leader, right?
I can't say it's been fun so far, but maybe this is the way where it starts turning fun for me.
5 tickets of fate.
King.
And
6
Trickett
spades,
gets
9.5.
the ticket.
Sure does.
Turn is the 5 of diamonds.
Always.
It's actually giving Jen an extra out.
4 outs.
Interestingly enough.
All any 8s.
Well, I'm drawing dead, right? Yeah.
Or an ace.
Right.
Looks like she has 10,000 left.
I think it's
No, you
got
still
me.
got chips.
Oh no. I do?
You don't want to?
Listen, every dream starts with an idea, Jen Tilly. Can happen.
She's played pretty well, by the way.
The torture's never over.
169.
How much do you have left?
She has. I
14
want to say
left.
that she's had a great
Just
week and
enough to
impressed a
pay the
lot
big
of people,
blind.
but you're just going to make fun of me again.
No, go ahead, Jesse. I realized you're right. You should. I'm a big accolades guy. After every NBC heads-up match, I talked about how before about how great my opponent was, and you know what? We're playing 64 great opponents, and it was right to do. So
Yeah,
I
that's
might be
right.
needling you, but you need to say that.
I always love watching. I mean, Jennifer Tilly has impressed me every time I've seen her in this game and high-stakes cash games and.
Yes, it was awesome.
You're the
Yeah.
small blind. You can
Listen to
fix
that.
I'm
Fans
small
on the
blind.
rail
I
as
can't
well.
wait to see another can. Not how much is the small blind?
10 total, man.
We believe in you, Jen. That's what they're saying. And Tilly down to less than one big blind. How about that? How about
I
that?
think I'm pot committed.
She's funny too.
We're going to see some very quick bust outs very quickly.
Pointed it out to give me
Yes.
false hope.
I did.
And at some point, the game will kind of settle down into a sort of a more manageable rhythm. Obviously, Esfandiari, Trickett, a bit of benefit from the deck, but they give themselves chances to get lucky at the right spot and then still win the tournament. Wow, has Antonio decided it's time to teach Duhamel a lesson? If he does, he's just going to be the wrong time. School is in session.
7 folds, seed 8 folds.
The Jungleman is so frustrated. he's like, I could play this game with just my pinky and 3 of my brain cells. That's exactly what that look was. I'm too qualified for this right now, says the Jungleman. I'm overqualified.
That's funny.
I didn't even look at my cards. I'm that baller. 2 life cards. Put it out there, Mr. Dealer.
She needs about the 3, 6, 7 flop, where should be a favorite. Oh boy.
King of spades.
Oh, 9. I need a jack.
I don't think so.
No, I need. I'm trying
Spade,
dead.
spade.
Yeah, pretty much.
How could that be? Okay, we
That's
need
probably one of the worst flops she could
spades. I
see.
need running spades.
Yeah, that was
You guys are
ugly.
good. All right, I'm trying dead. Nice hand, Duhamel.
Thank you.
I'm proud to give my money to a fellow Canadian.
Thank you,
12
Jen.
by 12,000.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Bye.
Good game.
See you later. Bye.
Jennifer
Bye,
Tilly
Nick.
out in 7th place.
Bye, honey.
She'll pick up more than a bit
Yeah,
of
that's
prize
all
money.
Sure was. Great playing with you.
Finish up well in this
Bye-bye.
Premier League. But we are 6 left for Premier League Poker 6.
Well, it was really difficult because I came in short stacked. And I mean, it started off good, kind of good. And then when I got to the point after I lost half my chips to Antonio, or 2/3 of my chips to Antonio, then I got to the point where I just had to wait for a hand to push, and then I was card dead. And I just wasn't lucky, but it was a fantastic experience, and I'm looking forward to doing it again if they'll let me.
I'm sure we will, and we'd love to have you back. And you take away just under 100K, and we'd love to see you here in the Premier League again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
7 folds, seed 8 folds. Seed 1 fold. Seed 2 calls.
There's McLean and Tatiana.
Interestingly enough, McLean Carr, he made the final table of the WPT High Roller about a year and a half ago in Vienna. And do you know the guy he destroyed, absolutely dismantled to win that tournament, heads up, was Tobias Reinkemeier.
And the flop.
I think we've
Wow,
got some
look at
action
this.
here.
Look at this. Oh my God. 7s with a king for Reinkemeier, a straight for Duhamel, and Jungleman with 7s with a queen. Come on.
It's not fair sometimes.
25,000. Seed 2 calls.
And what was it, a limp? Was it a limp?
Reinkemeyer's gonna ship here.
Did Daniel limp from the button again? That's what he did, didn't he?
Oh, it's very unlucky. On the other hand, if Reinkemeier would have raised it before the flop, I mean, he had that option with Jungleman limping.
Right.
But I don't blame him for rate for just calling, and now he's just in a world of hurt.
There is no way for him to find his way out of here. It's just too strong a hand with this many blinds, Phil, or can he make just a sick soul read? Have you ever done that?
Well, he's going to call. The question is call or raise. I think he's going all in. Yeah, he has to, really.
Yeah, of course he does. Check one more time, Jonathan.
Jonathan has to be careful here. I mean, what he should do is he should study and study and study and study and call. What he might do is just ship it. And who can blame him for shipping it? There is a flush draw out there, but
1872.
you pretty much have to assume the Jungleman is drawing dead here. It's really not
on this
a bad
kind
assumption.
of board, really?
Well, he limped in.
Right. You know, there's a lot of straight draws out there, sort of the 8-9, the 8-10, the clubs. A lot of two-way draws, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame him for moving in. I really don't. But a call would be really strong, and then shove no matter where. Shove if a bad turn card comes.
Duhamel's got Kate's covered by about 160,000, but there are two of the bigger stacks left in this tournament.
Remember, this is the man who put in 8 bets with 2 queens trying to trap, so.
It's true. That's true.
And got Joseph Chung to shove with ace-7.
6 calls.
I'm trying.
2 folds.
Wow, how about that? He did just flat, and Daniel still folded.
Yep.
Things not looking too well. Do I have running?
Tobias Reinkemeier is going to be the next player out of this tournament unless something really freaky happens.
Turns 2 of clubs.
Good game, Toby.
He has been a tour de force in this tournament.
Look at Bernie Man.
Some of the plays he made is right from the get-go. Superior poker. We have 5 players left now, and it is Duhamel who takes the huge chip lead with nearly 900,000 chips. For Tobias Reinkemeier, he did show his class, but we say goodbye to the German high-stakes player. He is now over with Kara Scott.
We've lost Tobias in 6th place here at this final table for the Premier League. It played 8-handed for an awfully long time. From the inside of the table, can you give us some insight about why that is?
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple of all-in situations. First of all, my all-in with is Duhamel, and then there was 2 more all-ins, I think, where the short stack always doubled. So I think that's basically why. It could have been like 7 people or 6 people or even 5 people quite easily early on.
What was the experience like coming through and playing the Premier League with its unique structure?
It was a really nice experience overall. I'm pretty exhausted too. Like, it was definitely a tough week, and I think I'm a little disappointed now because obviously of the result, and also because I feel like I didn't play my best today, and obviously today was the final, so that kind of sucks, but it's all right.
Okay, well, it was great watching you all the way through the Premier League, and we hope we see you again. Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Final table action continues after the break as we move a step closer to crowning a new Premier League champion.
Welcome back to Asper's Casino in Westfield, Stratford City. We're close to finding out who takes home the $450,000 first prize and the Premier League title. Now let's head back down to your commentators.
2040, right?
Now the game begins, Phil. 5 players left, and perhaps
If Antonio wins this, it will be unbelievable. I mean, he was on 3 points after 2 heats. He was the first one all in the 3rd heat as an underdog, and his hand somehow held up. Then he was a short stack again when we were 4-handed in that heat, and he came back and won it, and then barely squeaked into the finals. Had to play a heads-up match, got his money in bad in the heads-up match.
You're right. My gosh. It is an amazing
Then he was going to
story.
go broke like at least twice and someone re-raced in front of him.
You're never
Just
dead in
strange.
this game. You're never dead in this game, that's for sure. And a click raise. Now, Trickett started this hand with about 20 bigs. Looks like Antonio's going to peel. No, how about that? That was pretty good.
Now the poker starts. Now the poker starts. Antonio bullying Trickett.
And, you know, it looked like when he just tossed those chips in that it was a big raise, but the truth is Antonio was prepared to pass that to a shove, wasn't he?
Nope. No, he put in. He raised like 100. Oh, yeah, maybe he was. Maybe he would have folded for another 200. Yes, you're right.
7 folds.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
You know, he obviously doesn't have the flashiest game in the world, Dan Shak, but it is effective. And he employs it well. He knows what he's there to do. He knows what he wants to do, and he knows how to pull the trigger, Phil.
I'll tell you, Dan is just technically very solid, very sound. Seems to move his chips really well, and you know, he's leading player of the year race right now.
I'm the last. Is it still 8-16?
Yes, Jungle. Jungle Mania.
Jungle Mania.
I just had it. It's nice. I promise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, try to get someone from Group A out.
Is anyone else down?
It's me. I haven't had one. I promise. Here, look. I'm not just feeding you drink. I'm just pretending, doing fake shots. Shots of cola.
Well, I'll tell you something else that's quite interesting. Of the 5 players who are left, 4 of them were from Group A.
6 raises to 35,000.
I mean, that's rather significant.
Yeah.
8 folds.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. I played with those guys.
7 folds. See 2 calls.
Well, we said there was a little bit of a mismatch in the drawing.
Well, it's not color war, but it's just quite amazing.
6 of clubs, 9 of clubs, queen of diamonds.
We're Group A.
I don't know what Jungleman's doing in this hand, but
Check.
Tatiana.
Would you say it could possibly be Jägermeister related? Oh, jungle.
See 6 bets, 37,000. See 2 folds.
what a flop for Jonathan there. Oh my goodness.
I love his presence at the table. I think he's a friendly guy. He's got a smile, but he's got that angry glare that he can just go into, and it can be quite intimidating, I think. I mean, not to these guys, of course, but when he wants to utilize it in poker.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's outmatched by, you know, the 2 guys on his left.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, Trickett and Antonio are really good at getting their chips in well. They both won a lot of events. Dan Shak, I don't know who I would say is better than Duhamel and Shak. Because Shak's been playing a lot of poker, and Duhamel, I don't know if he's played as much. It seems like Dan's definitely technically more so.
32,000.
Right, Duhamel
and then
is...
Jungleman, the longer this goes, the better his chances of winning are.
6 folds.
Now let's see how Antonio is. I would think that Antonio.
6, 7 folds.
Yeah, Antonio definitely has some really good reading skills, as you said. I would think that he has a read on Jungleman. Jungleman was the easiest one in my group for me to read, because he plays so much on the computer that he hasn't really spent a lot of time disguising his live tells.
And he's not bothering about it at all. I mean, especially now that he's been playing a few hours, you can tell he's not taking care with the way he handles his chips or cards, is he?
6, 7 checks.
But his bet sizing is quite correct.
He tends to bet, you know.
2 bets, 35,000.
Yeah, his bet sizing's good. I think Antonio's going to call.
It was a tricky check back on the flop or standard?
It was a little tricky with that board, but it's okay too. I mean, it's.
In the river, it's a queen of clubs.
Oh my God, Antonio hit another one. Crazy.
Daniel said, "Oh my."
Nice river.
Oh my.
You were about to hear from me on the river, Jungle.
Well, it could be all over now. Antonio's hitting cards out of his bootstraps.
Yep.
He must be a very tough man to stop once he gets going. Esfandiari. And he's feeling the power in this Premier League.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, when Antonio starts going, he is tough to stop.
Here comes Antonio.
It's interesting, you know, I mean, if Antonio could choose an opponent to play heads up, who would it be? It certainly wouldn't be Trickett again.
Right.
You know, he doesn't want to play Jungleman. No one wants to play Jungleman heads up. So, I mean, it's just like he just has so many scenarios. But Antonio may or may not have a reading ability on him. I don't know. He had the worst hand last time.
Right, I mean, you can only read so well, and it is heads up.
Dan Shak's not going to get run over, but Dan Shak, I don't know. Does he know how to play technically right when he gets down to heads up? Antonio, what can you do on this board? You know, you want to c-bet it, but it's Jungleman. You know he calls all raises with 8 high and 7 high. I mean, it's a real tough spot for Antonio. I don't think he can bet here.
Oh.
But he has no fear.
7 bets, 42,000.
And even if Jungleman did have a hand that doesn't really match there, there's every chance he peels off anyway. I mean, he's sticky a little bit, isn't he?
Well, he has Antonio in bad shape, and Antonio might have to give up. And that's a double belly buster straight draw. Now he needs a 3 or a 6 for a straight, and he has the best hand.
Jungleman's only got 220-odd thousand back. If Antonio makes a bet here, Jungleman really has to think about shoving all in rather than calling, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably his plan. Wow, Antonio's really going for the double barrel, and he...
7 bets, 68,000.
Is he trying to make it look like he will not pass for the shove?
Well, Jungleman, let's see what he does here. I don't think he's just called.
Wow.
Two calls.
So what's going through Antonio's head? Does he have any fold equity left? Antonio must feel like he's got to give up.
Well, I mean, if he bluffs all in here and gets away with it, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, he just pure aggression won him this pot, if he can do it. But he might think that Jungleman's in call down mode. And the other thing is Antonio can check here because he can beat 9-10. He can beat 9-jack. He can beat all the busted straight draws he can beat right now.
7 is all in.
It's gone all in.
2 calls.
Wow.
Wow, it worked.
I mean, Cates has definitely given up equity there, Phil, hasn't he? Well, I mean, obviously, because we can see the cards, but was Jungleman's plan that it looked so much like he had to call all in? He just felt like Antonio couldn't bluff him in that spot? Has he underestimated Antonio?
It's just a very weird scenario. He just gave Antonio credit there, and that's okay. I mean, but it's just like you might want to test the flop. You might want to raise the flop. You might want to. Now on the turn, you have a double belly buster. You know, I mean, one thing if you're going to call, you might want to just lead.
Phil, you know this, and I'm sure you believe it. You find out who the champions are when they get a hold of chips late at night in a tournament where they've been mentally knocked out already, and they're given a chance, and then that's just the end. They don't look back. Right now, Antonio Esfandiari, he's grabbed the reins.
One raises to 40,000.
He was a whisper for so long. Well, the Jungleman might not be out yet. Sometimes the story has some twists and turns.
Seat 2 is all in.
Well, we may be seeing chapter 2. It's a page turner.
Seat 6 folds.
Shak has to snap him off here, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Seat 7 folds.
Well, actually, how much is it?
I'm probably pot committed, but just to take the 40 and then.
Yep.
It's like 160.
I think he's getting just under 2 to 1. You could make an argument for the idea that Jungleman might be shoving less than optimally.
I call.
Cool.
I really didn't want to show on you.
And called. Showdown feature.
All right, well.
Now you do.
Yeah, man. Gladly take that one.
How much? What?
This is gonna leave Shak a little short.
Yes, it is.
That was like what convinced me to shove. Well, maybe you can have like pocket 4s or something. Pocket pair, rather.
The Jungleman's all in, but anything but a 4!
Stupid game, man. It's running so close.
And if he just calls, he's going to bust Duhamel, who had King Jack, by the way.
Lordy.
It's not over yet, though.
And the turn is a 3.
Okay,
Always
4 5s
excitement.
and 2 7s.
Full complement of outs.
Wouldn't surprise me if he hits it.
I'm
Dude.
sorry, man.
Don't be sorry.
He
had
has
like a little
been
more
the
ice,
spirit of this Premier League, the Jungleman. It's been a lot of fun. Out in 5th place.
Daniel Jungleman Cates was second in this event last year, made the final table again in only the second year he's ever played the Premier League, and got really unlucky there at the end. Can you tell us about the experience of coming in and playing this?
Well, it's a different tournament. It's actually quite exhausting playing like 4 days in a row and then the final table. You're playing against basically world-class players, so it's very different from playing just an everyday tournament.
Well, it's awfully exciting and interesting for the fans at home to be able to watch you playing in this, and so thank you for coming out and playing it again, and hopefully we get to see you in the Premier League next season.
Yep, I probably will play next season.
That's very good news for us. Thank you.
Just does it, huh? He just does it.
And Jesse, look at this. 3 kind of big stacks and Trickett just hanging on.
The dynamic set up nice, especially between the 3 at the end of this table. I guess really the Esfandiari Duhamel matchup is kind of looming large. And Sam Trickett's not going to wait too long, is he?
7 raises to 42,000.
Esfandiari, 42.
Oh, what a spot for Sam.
So beautiful to have 5s in this spot.
Especially when the cards get turned
Now I get to do
over.
the squeeze first.
They showed us cards before he even squeezed them on the screen.
This is not a great situation for Esfandiari. He's got to hit the ace.
Ace one time. Let me beat Trickett one time.
One time. You've had it one time.
Ace, baby, come on, punish him.
Whoa, whoa. Punish me. Just win nicely.
Always say good luck to the player all in.
Safe so far for Sam Trickett.
That's a really good flop for Trickett. He had a 4 up there, so he doesn't really have to worry about the board. All board double pairs don't hurt him.
Turn is a deuce of hearts.
Not the best turn card. Now it's an ace or a 3 that'll beat him.
So sweet.
In the river.
I didn't even get to sweat it.
And that'll put the cat among the Tricketts.
And Trickett is back in business. And look at this.
Esfandiari and Trickett are now very close in chips, and Shak doesn't have very much more. It is Duhamel, however, who is the big chip leader, but it is wide open now as the players continue to battle it out for the championship win tonight.
I know that. Of course I know that. I've been sitting in the limit games at enough World Series of Pokers where Brits at the final table, and they're just
That was pretty
screaming.
crazy, yeah.
Seat 8 raises to 40,000.
Here
Is that
comes
the money?
Sam. Ace Queen.
This does not qualify.
Seat 1 folds.
Now he's sitting on 20 big blinds, right? Oh,
An ace
Duhamel with an
four-handed,
ace.
Phil. It's strong in these players' minds. Oh
Wow.
my gosh. That's it. Trickett is going to double-double.
And Trickett double. He's going to have a huge chip lead. He's sitting at Antonio's left. This is just fantastic news for Sam Trickett. Not so good for Antonio, and Duhamel's in bad shape again for a big pot.
We saw Shak fold a deuce.
Wow.
Probably both have trips, isn't it? You folded a deuce. 2 deuces left.
No, 1.
You folded deuces.
1.
Yeah, so there's 2 deuces.
No, 1.
Yeah, yes, okay.
1 of them.
We got there, yeah.
Okay.
Is it straight?
Yeah.
Ace of hearts, 5 of clubs.
I had deuce, 3 of clubs.
Duhamel likes the
flop.
clubs. Yep.
Pretty good flop for Trickett. So club is not very likely. It's a king of clubs. Oh my God.
And look at that, a jack or 5 now splits the pot.
That is really a sick card. Can it really happen? Could it be a club and he makes the second nuts Trickett and goes eliminated?
You can't do it to me in England. There's too much English will. There's too much English. Yeah, not in England.
Not in England, he says.
There's too much English will here.
Duhamel's
Sam Trickett's fiancée there on the rail.
Who's better than Sam?
She's lovely, you know.
She's great.
They've been together 7 years. Did you know that, Jesse?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
7 years, and she said, Phil, I made him give me a ring.
When we come back, we get a step closer to crowning this season's Premier League champion. The stakes are huge and reputations are on the line here in London. This is the final of Premier League Season 6, and we are down to 4 players. The race is still on to crown our champion here in London.
These guys are going to have to move chips. Four-handed. You've got a lot of options as far as you don't have to have a hand to move chips. There's not a lot of guys to beat, so let's see who plays this poker the best. Duhamel is, yeah, well, he's just decided that if it's not opened, he will.
Wow, Dan has him dominated with Jack-9 offsuit here.
Right, Duhamel just wants everybody to miss, and he's going to win this pot.
Uh-huh.
Queen of diamonds, 9 of diamonds, Jack of spades.
I don't think that qualifies.
Check.
I think Duhamel might check this. Let's see.
I was thinking he might shove. Of course he's got to check, right?
Well, he's supposed to check because that looks like it's in Dan's range. Oh, it's over for Duhamel. Yeah. Nice Premier League. 2-pair against 2-pair. What a cooler.
And there is no way out.
No way out. Unless, well, there's 2 5s left, but that's his way out.
Big one bets 80,000.
I'm all in.
He went all in. He did the right thing.
C1 calls.
2-pair, better 2-pair.
Wow.
Just 2 5s in the deck, and for Jonathan Duhamel, he has really played this Premier League to a P.
He played so many of the players like they were a fiddle the whole time. I mean, he was in my heat. He really played amazing poker.
Some incredible pots. You know, he came out of the traps fast, won his first heat, dominated the Group A, which was the toughest of the 2 groups, and certainly the class of that field.
He really did acquit himself so well in this thing.
Jonathan is 4th here in the final of the Premier League for just over 200,000. What was the experience like coming in and playing this?
Well, it was a lot of fun. I mean, especially our group was pretty tough. So, I mean, just to have the chance to play with all those guys, compete with them for like an entire week, it was a lot of fun. And I mean, I like the challenge to be out there and play against those guys. So I'm just happy I made it to the final table. Finishing 4th is not, I mean, I wanted more, but I'm still happy with it.
You've had a chance to play this structure, to look at this structure in detail with the points. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's a lot of fun because it's different from the other tournaments. So it adds another dynamic to the tournament that usually you don't see in poker. It's a lot of fun, but the thing is you have to think about so many things, take a lot of things in consideration that sometimes at the end people need to play more tight, take a little less risks. So sometimes like the poker you're gonna see on TV is gonna be way different from what you see like in cash game and stuff like that. But it's a lot of fun. It's different, so it's cool.
Well, it's been a real pleasure watching you play. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
It's gotta get heads up, you and me. It just has to.
Because we stood together in the picture.
Right? We did.
What'd you say?
In the one drop, we stood together in the picture, in the group picture, the 48 players.
Before the start was...
We're right next to each other. And then we got heads up.
That would be really a great story that I hope doesn't. I mean, I think it's a beautiful story, and I'm happy.
So this time, same thing. We stood next to each other for the picture.
That would be a good story. Wow.
Bacho, bacho. You know what a bacho is, Shak?
No.
Bacho.
Seed 8 raises to 40,000.
Well, this may be an example. Now, he's probably got too much to shove, but...
Oh, he's definitely not shoving. The question is, what does he do here?
Seed 1 raises to 120,000.
A little on the large size, but that's how he likes them.
Seed 7 folds.
Sam doesn't know it, but a big re-raise gets the job done for him here. I think most likely he's just going to fold.
Obviously, they have experience with each other. I think the super high rollers in Australia, they both play all of them.
Dan's just not a guy you want to bluff. He's just not a guy you want to bluff. And so, it's when he finally does come over the top, I mean, the problem is that he might be coming over the top of you with ace-7. You might move all in, and he might call you anyway. So you're like, I know you have ace-7. I'm going to shove $1 million on you and get you to fold, and Dan calls anyway. So...
It's true, and he kind of sets out his stall. I'll give you my chips, but not quickly. Aside from anything else, something about winning this tournament, which is, it's not just like you won a tournament. It's like you beat 15 of the best poker players in the world, not just once, but over a period of a week. I mean, you beat them. You beat them bad.
Don't tilt me, please.
But
you're right. You're right. It's nice to know that you beat really some great players and over a whole week. It's true. Now Antonio hit his deuce and bet, and now Sam just called him. And of course, if a king comes, it's a disaster for Trickett. Now let's see if Sam can do something here. He might also feel like king, queen high is the best hand,
Seed 8 bet 66,000.
Well, he's bet it pretty solidly here.
Did you see the way he put the chips in? It looked like there was a problem as he kind of stumbled there at the end. Antonio might pick up on that and might just call him. It just looked weak. There was that little hitch there.
You guys are so zoned in.
Oh,
that was
great card
not,
for Antonio. Yeah.
7 checks.
Is there a bet Sam can make that can get Antonio off a pot once he's got his claws into it?
Sam may all in it.
Jeez, I think you're right. I think he's got to knuckle this.
Nothing wrong with knuckling it.
Wise check, sir. You were getting insta-call.
He was. He was.
Ace-5, ace-4.
You know why, Phil. That's the incredible thing.
No, I didn't mean that. Sorry.
Yeah, Antonio said something needly to him.
Never mind. I didn't mean to say that.
And then he said something needly to Sam, but right after he said it, he apologized immediately. So that was okay.
I actually think it just came out wrong. I don't think I think he was thinking something else, kind of like he was saying to himself, "Nice hand, you picked that up, you knew it." And I think it just kind of.
Well, I mean, Antonio's really good at needling people. He's done it his whole career, and so he needled Sam, but then realized immediately, caught it, and said, "No, I didn't mean that," and he didn't mean that because. Right. The fact is that, you know, I mean, he beat him for $9 million heads up.
That is the fact.
And Trickett's been a perfect class to him and still hung out with him, and, you know, and I think it's cool, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you only beat Juha Helppi for a bracelet. He'll never talk to you. I mean, that's not true, you guys.
Juha and I get along just fine.
You do.
Yeah.
I love the banter.
I really like
between
him. Juha's just great. I mean, he really is. I mean, it's like, Juha is a family guy with a perfect reputation that everybody likes. So Juha Helppi, I mean.
And he did get his revenge on you. It was the most fun kind. When do you remember the first 24-hour cash game? I think he made a straight flush on you or something like that.
I think that was against Fish.
All right.
Queen of clubs, 8 of diamonds, ace of clubs. See, they checked.
He was the original Premier League champion, Juha Helppi.
So this is where, with an ace-queen 8 flop, a lot of times someone will check the queen in back here, you know, and just and opt to call down and try to get value on a different street. But Dan fires, and I tend to fire too, actually. So, but I can go either way on that one.
It's never going to be a three street sort of hand, so you have to decide which streets you want to bet.
Yeah. And I think the reason I fire on that board is I want to try to read my opponent. I want, if he's going to make a move, I want to try to read it and pick up free chips if he does. And I think, I don't know exactly why Dan does it, but a lot of guys are just going to check. They don't want to have to make that read if they get check raised and try to put the guy in a flush draw or straight draw or whatever, you know?
I had a feeling Dan Shak would get to this stage, and he has to be underrated. Well, he has to be underrated. There's just no way. I mean, he has to be doing so many things right, Phil. It's
you called it. He's very technically sound, you know, and so when he finally does get involved, so he's playing very patiently. When he does get involved in hands, he seems to play pretty aggressively. So,
but the backup is that he's watching everything. He's not playing tight as an overall strategy. He's playing tight.
He's adjusting.
Yeah. Well, if you have to say what distinguishes all three of these guys, or what's common about them, they're all pretty good survivors, and they've all exhibited some pretty good survival techniques.
You know, as fast as all of these guys are capable of playing, they all have shown that they have the patience, you know? Antonio waited a long time before he got involved. Sam waited a long time before he got involved, and so did Dan, and they're the ones that are still standing.
7 bets, 52,000.
Their patience has served them well.
Think how low Antonio let himself get in those early stages. It seemed like he was folding his way out of the tournament, and he wasn't. He passed the ace-10. I mean, he made some big folds.
Yeah. I don't know if they were that huge, but the ace-jack was a big fold in that spot. And I think you're going to see Dan take action immediately here.
You did know. He's gone back to the buffet bet, second helping.
One raises to 152,000.
Jeez, you knew he was going to raise before he knew he was going to raise. How about that?
Well, you know, there is some old school thought processes in there. I think the new kids are happier. Some of the new school process, and it makes sense. They think, all right, if my opponent has ace-7 offsuit, do I really mind giving him a free shot at an ace? Some other good stuff could happen. He could bluff off with something weaker. And so they put themselves in that position. And Dan's like, you know what? I think a queen's the best hand. I'm going to go with it. I'm just going to raise here. And if no king or 3 comes, he's going to bet big here.
And there's a 9 of spades.
Did I say no king or 3? I meant if no
overcard.
Yeah. No ace or king.
It's 150,000.
From Dan's point of view, he has top 2 pair here, and he's thinking that there's a chance that Antonio's just drawing dead. You know, Antonio could have queen 8. He's been raising a lot. He could have queen 7. He could have jack 6. There's a lot of hands where he's really drawing dead. It turns out that if Antonio hits his king or 3, he's live.
Right,
But
and he's kind of
only
getting
5
a nice price on this.
Only
Dan's
5
giving him a
outs.
nice price. I mean, should he be thinking to himself, why is Dan giving me a nice price? Dan never gives anybody a nice price.
Yeah, you know, and that's a legitimate question. And so I think that I think Antonio just has to get away from this. Dan is just too solid of a player. He just has to have it here. Like, it seems like all the time. I mean, he's folded over and over and over in the blind. So what do you think he has? You know, 4-5 suited. You pretty much can assume he folded that. So you can't beat anything. So if Antonio's thinking about calling, I think he's just going to lay it down.
Mr. Shak, what do you got?
Society me. Just for fun, maybe he'll just have a little probe.
Well, it is only 150, and so.
I mean, the only draws that were out there on the flop were those low straight draws, and his right, Phil. I mean, it's not. That's not Dan's range, is it?
No. You know, maybe Antonio thinks that Dan has ace-3 and he can move in and win because Dan can't call with a 3. You know?
Or ace-6. Right. Boy.
Oh, that's. I just don't like that call.
What could he?
Dan doesn't care what in his mind. He doesn't care what hits here.
As you say that, it's probably the worst card in the deck.
All in.
One is all in.
Wow, Dan right now is saying woo. He doesn't want to say it out loud, but he's like woo. You know what I mean? He's just said woo because I mean, if Antonio snap calls him with 3-6, if Antonio has a 6, he's going to snap call.
Right.
So Dan now knows he has the best hand. But, you know, so the minute that Antonio, you make that, I'm all in, but you're scared to death. And the minute that the guy studies for like 2 seconds, you're like, got him, you know? So now he has to shut up and not give anything away to Antonio.
I didn't believe you on the turn, but now I believe you.
Oh.
That's a good point.
Who is the chip leader? It is Dan Shak. And if Dan Shak does go forward and win, you'll have to say that he's the guy who has been in the least amount of danger at all times in this Premier League.
That could have been the hand of the tournament.
Antonio's
sir.
been in the most
Nice
danger,
hand.
and he's still down there. And if he
I
wins
almost
that
called
pot,
you.
he has a massive chip lead. Sam's been in a lot of trouble, too. He put himself in a bad spot in the first heat.
Tons of trouble.
Tons of trouble. First spot, he needed like the queens to beat the. He needed his tens to beat Antonio's queens and a spot he didn't have to play. And so Sam did put himself in trouble. I don't think he was playing the format the right way. See, Sam's so smart, he adjusted in the fourth one. Wow, Antonio with 9. So how to milk the most.
C7 is all in.
Dan might feel like he has to call 14 more big blinds.
They fold.
Right, there
What's
is.
the exact count?
He's not going to like that deuce.
No, I mean he can't really beat anything.
That's a good sign that I haven't insta-called yet. But I may have to.
Well, I think it's going to be how many more big blinds? 14 more big blinds to him.
How much?
324 total.
So I know that Dan's tempted to take a shot to win here, and this is it's very interesting.
This is a game changer as far as if he calls and wins. Is that what he's thinking about?
Well, I think what he's thinking, yes, that has to cross your mind. You have to try to win the thing, and that might be enough of a reason to call. But 14 big blinds against Antonio in this spot, ace deuce is not likely to be good. On the other hand, he can beat king queen, he can beat king jack, but he's dominated if Antonio has a pair or an ace, and so that's what he's thinking about.
So it's how much? Can you bring in the 50, please?
274.
There's for some reason I just see that ace deuce on the button, and I think about the very first Poker Million on the Isle of Man. I know you were there, and John Duffy three-handed, made a raise on the button with the ace deuce, got pushed on big by the pocket threes, and he agonized and agonized, made the call. Actually, I think he probably snapped it off now that I think about it. It just hit it. It just hit it.
I call.
And Shak's called as well. Could he do a Duffy and hit the ace?
So this is questionable whether or not he should have played this hand.
I need you, Mom. I need your power. Come here.
Oh, bless her.
There's that's 700,000 in this pot, and it is going to be back in action.
You think it's coming, Jesse?
Yes, I do.
Me too.
Okay? Just no ace.
Oh.
A duck, so that's a few outs.
No ace or two, Mom.
Club makes it interesting.
Turn.
That's a very good card. No attack. Adrian?
I guess we were wrong,
Think
Jesse.
about my mother. Okay? Think about my mother.
Antonio's good.
Put the
my
rabbit back in the hat.
Wow.
Nice hand,
Brutal.
I had queen 9 the hand before.
You had a queen? Yeah.
Queen and a 9. I had 2 pair on the top.
He performed, Antonio, and especially at this final table. Then Shak now in position to take, I think, what would be the biggest title of his poker career.
We've just lost Antonio there in third. A brutal card on the river, obviously. We could see the emotion of it for you. Talk to us about that.
Well, it was brutal, obviously, but, I mean, it's three-handed, and he has ace in his hand, and I have a pair of 9, so the hand kind of, he has to call. And it was just brutal because my mom was there, and I was worried about her heart. So it wasn't so much the 450, well, I mean, it was. I really wanted to win.
Right.
But no, I really wanted to win that.
We're sorry to see you go. We'll see. I'm sure see you next season.
Yeah, probably. This has been a lot of fun. It was a great journey, and I went from being almost dead to coming back and almost winning. So, whatever. Everyone. It was a fantastic show, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Join us after the break when Heads Up gets underway between Dan Shak and Sam Trickett.
Sam is solid. I mean, I guess I can say solid and a nice guy. I mean, I like Sam very much, but, again, this is a very big competition, and liking someone is not going to affect my play.
If I was to win the Premier League, obviously I'd be really happy. It's always nice to win a tournament because it's the ultimate. You can't do any better. It's obviously more recognition to win a tournament with such good poker players in, so it'd be really good.
This would be significant. If I could win this, I could probably sit back and maybe think I may actually be good at this game.
We are here at Asper's Casino in Westfield, Stratford City, and the poker room is buzzing. And at the heart of it all is the final table of this season's Premier League. Tonight, we crown a new champion.
Head-to-head for the Premier League Poker Season 6 title. 2 stories. One from Group A, one from Group B. And how do they match up, though?
Let's take a look. Total aggression, close, steal attempts, twice as many for Trickett. 3 bets are close. And, okay, so it looks pretty close except for the chips, of course.
It is, and their games are very, very different. On the one hand, Dan Shak, he plays a He plays a bit of a more safe approach. Sam Trickett likes to play all the streets, likes to make complicated moves, complicated decisions, and yet Shak has shown he does have that in him when it's required.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, because this is where I think that Sam is just like Sam is a bit of a beast, you know. He's really a contender. He's one of the best players on the planet as well. And so, you know, Dan is trying to get to that status, and, you know, and it just seems like he has his work cut out for him with Sam here. He really needs to, I think, find a way to keep some pressure back on Sam, because he's going to basically try to run over Dan, I think. It's very hard to run over Dan because he has a lot of money.
He certainly does. Twice as many chips.
One calls.
There are very few cards that can hit on the turn where Dan can still comfortably continue. I mean, that may be one of them, but Dan's still best result here is to check it down, right?
Now, Dan is stubborn enough where he's capable of making this call. And Sam knows that, so Sam just went ahead and checked and said, all right, I'll take a queen or a 9, please.
3 of diamonds.
Now, he made a pair of 3s. Let's see if Shak can value bet this. And he probably, no, he's checked it. So.
7 checks.
What'd you say?
2 pair.
I have an 8. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had a 10 or jack.
I had an 8.
I apologize.
Well,
the pot would have gotten awarded, right?
Yeah, but I mean, 2 pair and yeah.
But there was a hand in one of the first heats, so maybe it was the third heat when the heat Dan Shak won, and he made a check raise on the turn against Tobias Reinkemeier bluff. And Reinkemeier was so surprised that he folded a strong hand. I think it was top pair without a bad kicker. And you just kind of feel like if Dan chooses his moment to make a completely unexpected bluff, that could be the title. And if he has the timing right, all he needs is that 1.
Yeah, that's a good observation. Exactly right.
And Trickett clearly has a plan to just try and play as many flops as possible.
9 spades, 8 clubs, 4 spades.
This kind of spot can hurt him, though.
7 checks.
Dan wants to bet here because he wants to get check raised and move all in. Because if he gets check raised by a 4 or an 8, he can move all in and just win the pot. Or by a straight draw or a worse flush draw. So
1 bets 90,000.
Bet a little bit, such a strong bet, you know. I'd like to see him bet more like 60, 70,000, induce something, you know. If he bets 60, he could induce a Trickett bluff.
Wow, he's basically bet the pot, hasn't he?
Yeah, and then it just loses his, like, ability to have Sam do something silly here, you know. On the other hand, it does win the pot, and it sends a message to Sam, if you want to do something, you're going to have to raise big.
Yeah, and Trickett doesn't like that, actually. So he's pretty much just going to limp every button, at least in this level.
Yeah.
Trickett about 25 bigs. Oh, 27 bigs, maybe.
C1 checks.
We're both going to check our cards? Okay.
Thank you.
C7 bets 35,000. C1 calls.
So Dan's thinking that queen high is good, or he has a plan to get busy on a later street.
Turn, the jack of clubs. C1 checks.
Now he does get sticky, so obviously Trickett knows this.
Well, Trickett's thinking he could have a draw or he could have a 3. I'm going to try to move him. Trickett smells some weakness, so let's see if Dan has the had a plan. I guess not.
If he is going to make a move, Dan, he's pretty unlikely to do it with complete air. It feels like the kind of guy who wants to have a little backup.
Yeah, I agree. And he basically just called the flop because it looked like his queen high was good. Once Sam bet again, he said, okay. I may be good, I may not be good, but I'm done with this hand.
1.8 out of the 2.6 in play in the hands of Dan Shak. All the way from the New York of A.
6-7 calls.
Or is that just where he's originally from? Does he live in California now these days?
I'd say half New York, half California for Dan.
Raises to 80,000.
It would have been really unusual for Dan to just sort of check there in the big blind. He's not going to be doing any trapping like that, is he?
No, but you know, there's a spot to do it and there's a spot not to do it, and looks like the 80 is working.
So 24 up to 80, and for Trickett to call there, I mean, it's a little bit of a statement, isn't it? That's
yeah, I mean, Trickett's, he might have ace-10. He doesn't know he is dominated at this point. You know?
7 of diamonds, 6 of hearts.
And Sam also knows that most times Dan is going to miss the flop. That opens the door for him to.
So part of calling there might involve a float.
Bets 80,000.
Float can get expensive. Wow. If he is going to continue on in this hand, not just a call. I mean, this is pretty sublime, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting. I mean,
Turns 10 of diamonds.
wow, that's going to cause them both to check.
I mean, it's almost like, you know, Trickett can only call there if he really knows that Dan is going to check every time, check the turn every time he doesn't have anything. Is Dan going to check the? Oh, he is.
Check.
I mean, I guess he's got a pretty strong air to check the turn with. My gosh, is Sam going to win this pot?
Well, he's not checking, I'll tell you that. He called to bet. Now, the problem is that he actually picked up an open ender, and that might actually force him to check. But his plan was not to check unless maybe an 8 or a 10 hits. And the 10 came, so.
What you're saying is he doesn't want to blow himself off the pot. If he gets check raised here, I mean, he's just going to be sick, isn't he?
Yes.
7 bets 130.
I mean, the move we were talking about before that Dan needs to find, this is the one. If he could check raise here, it's game over.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated to do that in this spot.
Right.
But I don't think Dan's folding.
I mean, it is quite tricky if you're Dan. I mean, what could Sam have that you can beat? That 10 kind of completed a couple draws that he would have had on the flop if it was an 8-10, if it was, wow.
You can beat 4-5, you can beat 5-8, that's it.
All right. Nice hand, he says, and Trickett agrees. How did he win that? Is it just the power of position, perhaps?
Yeah, what he's decided to do is he's going to try to play the player. So you can play the cards, you can play the player. And so Dan, if he you know, he's going to find this out, but maybe not for an hour. Maybe he won't ever find this out. But you just have to say, Sam, well played, you know, I mean. And if Dan Shak leads out there, Sam's going to at least call.
Trickett's gotten a few back. Sam Trickett is not going to go away. I think Dan Shak is going to have to. I mean, that's fishy. That is so fishy, isn't it? Is it just because we see it? Whoever min raises from the big blind, Phil?
Yeah, and oh my God. This is so bad for Dan Shak. I mean, he's going to need to catch a 10 or a 9, or Sam's going to have a massive chip lead. He really lured him in well with a little min raise before. You know, it's hard to blame Dan for calling with a 9-10 suited.
But it should, alarm bells should be going off in your head when a guy min raises from the big blind, right?
Now that's going to slow down the action. That could save Dan a lot of money. If you're Sam here, I think you might want, I think you like the check. And I think this is one where you might just have to check raise.
Really? Tell me why.
Well, you really don't want to free. It doesn't look like Dan has a flush. So if he has a 10, you have to raise him out of there. You can't let him hit.
130,000.
You know.
120,000.
And if you do have the best hand, you feel like he might check back the river with a lot of times. So
he's going to check back the river, and it's not like he's going to be value betting 10s with a 9 if Trickett calls a big bet here. Plus, there's a lot of river cards that are bad for his hand. I think he has to protect his hand.
He's come to the decision to call.
Very patient, very patient.
Do you think that's because if he has to make a super sick laydown on the river, he's prepared to do it?
7.5.
I think it's because he's not sure that Dan has anything. Maybe Dan has a deuce.
Kings.
Kings?
Dan says kings. That qualifies, sir.
Nice hand.
What did you have? You're supposed to show first, but...
Oh.
Yeah. He's okay. Oh, okay, nice.
Now Sam's disappointed because he knows if he would have check raised the flop, he's going to get a lot of Dan's chips.
That was better than you thought.
Yeah.
Nice hand.
Yeah, unlucky.
Join us after the break when one of these two men will be crowned champion of the Party Poker Premier League Season 6. Welcome back. We are heads up for the final of the Party Poker Premier League. Tonight, one of these two men will be crowned champion.
Sam Trickett not far from even in chips now, although Dan Shak's got the lead.
Yeah, Sam's, you know, he's gonna have to get more value out of his hands against Dan.
7 calls.
Would have been interesting to see what would have happened if he had check raised there on the turn.
It could have been a lot worse for Dan Shak in that pot. A lot worse. He had 9-10 on the button, which he's not supposed to fold. He did get in there. He called the min raise, which I think is okay.
Right, well, you can't fold to a min raise when you've lived on the button, can you?
I don't think so. I mean, not with 10-9, and so now he flops a 10. The fact that Trickett min raised before the flop can make him lose a little bit less, but
he made a nice check on that river. I think when Sam saw the 10, it was kind of felt like he deserved a bet.
Wow, all right, so here we have a big hand. I think Sam limped in. And this is one reason why you limp. Now he's made the nut flush, and Dan can never fold. So it's a matter of, you know, how much you want to win this hand, Sam.
Wow, it sure is. There was a min bet on the flop. And now he's checked on the turn. And this pot now, 300K.
Sam is not really worried about a full house here. The way the actions came, I guess the worst card in the deck form would probably be a queen.
Dan's made 3 5s that are immaterial.
7 bets, 240,000.
I mean, Shak might be thinking, well, he can't have an ace here, so the best thing he could have is a jack of diamonds.
240.
It's a really sick end of this hand, I have to tell you.
Dan's trying to find a way. Wait, I see the 5. Does the 9 somehow make a full house? Nope, you're stuck on the third best possible hand. At least on 4th Street it was. This is a spot for Dan to actually make a hero fold.
Because even though he's got a great hand, any hand that Sam Trickett is betting for value beats him. And he has the ace-high flush.
I see how sick this is. I got one of those and this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, running bad. Running good, obviously.
Well, I don't think he's kidding when he said running good, obviously, because he ran pretty good on that hand.
Yeah.
But he really has outmaneuvered Dan in the heads-up to this point, you know?
He's dictated the pace, hasn't he? And I mean, that's so important.
He has. He's kept out of the way when Dan's had big hands, and when he's had big hands, he's managed to get a lot of money. And so Dan limped in with the queen jack, and Trickett checked behind with the ace-8.
Spades.
2 of spades. 7 check, seat 1 bets 40,000.
Sam might call this.
7 calls.
And so
8 of spades.
Dan lowered his bet sizing a little bit, which is good.
Now that's a good card for Dan Shak to start getting paid.
That is a great card for Dan Shak. I mean, Dan, in his mind, Sam has to be drawing dead here. He has to be drawing.
Right.
Now, we know that he checked an ace in the big blind, but he doesn't know that. He has to be drawing dead.
But Trickett's going to have to figure this out. I mean, this is a great bluffing situation, too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just hard. He has ace high, which is probably the best hand, Jesse. Anyway,
10 of spades would be the ball game, by the way.
Well, okay.
River is a 2 of diamonds. 7 checks.
Maybe that.
Seat 1 is all in.
Oh, why not? Go for it.
Sam is asking himself, what can he push all in with here? You know, it seems like a flush or nothing, right? It's like a 90% chance he folds, right?
It's probably one he'll want to ask about later, regardless.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I have no idea what you had there.
No idea.
I don't think he's kidding when he said running good, obviously, because he ran pretty good on that hand.
Yeah.
But he really has outmaneuvered Dan in the heads-up to this point, you know?
He's dictated the pace, hasn't he? And I mean, that's so important. And now that Trickett's got the chip lead, it's just a question of being careful and consolidating, keeping it small. But
it almost seems like it's just a matter of time, doesn't it?
Well, a matter of time till Dan adjusts. I mean, don't you think he's smart enough to say, look, this is not going the way?
1 bets 50,000.
Trickett's flopped the bottom pair.
There's a 10 of spades. Seat 7 checks, seat 1 checks.
Oh my gosh. This is the cooler.
Yeah, but for how much?
And I mean, very deceptive the way Shak has played this. I think
now, it would be nice for Dan if he actually studies for 20 seconds before he acts. Sometimes he just grabs those chips so quickly, the green stack.
He's going all in. That's gotten serious.
Such a big shove. Are you bluffing? I have no idea what you have.
I have no idea.
You're not going to speak a word to me, are you? Huh? What do you think I think you have? I have no idea. Why didn't you bet, when you bet hearts on the turn?
Oh my gosh, everything is going to argue towards a call when he hears it. 5 hands, the blinds go to 20-40, Sam. He looks so uncomfortable now.
He really looks
He looks so uncomfortable.
No, I should just fold. Just small ball. Keep small balling.
Yeah.
He just said it out loud.
Yeah.
You should fold and small ball it.
I don't think you've got it. You don't look like you've got it. Well, it's just 10 times the pot.
Wow. Never seen anything like it.
Sorry, I'm sorry. This is the longest I've ever took on any decision in my life.
I believe that.
I believe that.
What do I think? What do I think you know?
Well, that's the idea. What do you think he has? And he can't put them on any one hand. He's ruled out hearts.
Dan has to be real careful not to make too many movements. He already said, the more he talks, the more he gives Sam a chance to figure it out and make the laydown. The more he moves, he gives Sam a chance to make the laydown. So
Tell you what, Sam's going to be a sick puppy if he calls this. And Dan Shak is going to be holding that title aloft. He's going to kiss that trophy. How is he going to make this decision? He's called! It's over!
Well, you got to go with your read.
well, that's exactly right.
Thank you.
That's exactly right. You got to go with your
go
read.
with your read.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
I'm not going to criticize it. I
Look
think
at Dan
Wow, your neck
Shak.
was pulsing like mad.
Look at Dan Shak. Look at it all.
Yeah, never
He's
mind.
sweating all over the place. Oh my God.
it's so
That
funny.
took a lot out of him.
See, these are the spots where
amazing.
this is a stat where he feels really bad, right? Sam feels really bad. He's like, oh my God, I blew the Premier League, blah, 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 blah. But he went with his read.
Such a bad call, looking back. That's why your neck was pulsing like mad.
What?
Your neck was pumping out your skin. I didn't know what it meant.
I was trying to look nervous. I was trying to, I don't know what I was doing.
He is now but a few big blinds away from the Premier League Poker 6 title. I don't know how he did it. This guy's just a winner, isn't he?
Well, my
He really
call for
is. Dan is a
240
winner.
before with
And,
whatever I had,
know.
which wasn't much.
Yeah, I should call.
Exactly.
It's a bad call.
Was not so good either.
Stunned here.
Looks like they're
Absolutely
all in.
stunned here. Aspers, Westfield, Stratford City
looked at one
Casino.
That sounds like an ace. I got 9-10.
Dan Shak has a chance to win the Premier League title.
I mean, and
let's
he
see how he
has-
celebrates if he does win, if his
Yeah.
2-1 holds up.
You talk about a guy being down for the count and reaching up through the mist and connecting with a knockout blow. That is what Dan Shak has done.
And you called it, Jesse. You called
He
it.
had the aura, didn't he,
You
Phil?
called it.
I mean, it's...
You really did call
This
it.
is all Dan
You said
Shak's
this is what's going to
moment.
happen.
buddy.
Dan
This is
Shak's
all
going to
Dan
win it.
Shak's moment.
Nice shove.
Oh, thanks.
And
Okay.
Congratulations, Dan Shak, class guy. And
Thank you.
Sam Trickett is a class guy,
He really
man.
is.
He said nice shove. He said complimented Dan. He's
He
handled
is.
himself with
Thank you very
complete
much.
class.
Hey,
What
where
a
did he
Premier
find
League,
that? 10
Jesse.
times
What
pot.
a Premier League.
just did it.
Unbelievable.
amazing.
It's been a fantastic season for the Premier League, our greatest lineup yet, and we have a new champion, Dan Shak. Congratulations. We spoke earlier as well about all the work you've put into your heads-up game. Did that play in at all here?
I really haven't, but you know, the first two heats, I got a lot of work in my heads-up game. I really, don't consider myself a heads-up specialist, and against Sam, I honestly was hoping for some, races, even, and they didn't come, and I got a little frustrated. He was getting a lot of big hands, but I didn't lose my cool and I didn't get impatient, and thought I made a couple bad calls, but all in all, I thought, I played really well at the final table.
Now, Sam, talk to us about your reflections on your own game here this whole week.
Honestly, I'm not just saying it. This is probably, I feel like I've never made so many mistakes in a week of poker in my life. I've run really good, and I just keep getting the big decisions wrong, but, me blowing up like this, that's why I get in all the best games in the world, so I'm always capable of a big blow up, so that's why I get to play in the games in the world, because sometimes I just lose my mind.
It was a tough lineup. You now have a title. for the Premier League against a sincerely difficult lineup of players, world class. How does that feel for you?
Oh, it feels amazing. You know what? I always say I really don't play for the money. I play because I want to honestly learn from better players like Sam. You know, maybe at some point I really will feel like I belong in their league. I don't feel that way yet, but I'm feeling closer, so I feel really pleased about it.
I'd like to invite John Scanlon on to present you with your trophy, to show exactly what league you are in.
Great. He's probably the only guy that would have stacked me on that last time. He's the only guy who would have shoved 10 times. No, well played. I don't know.
Sam's a great player, too.
It has been an amazing season here for the Premier League. What a lineup, what a champion. And make sure you join us next time because season 7 will be just as special.
I'm the best!
I love this game.
Boom. Yeah.
You really think I'm trying to angle with this?
Yes.
Then you're an idiot.
May the best woman win.
Wow. Come on, you sucker. You never fold.
I don't even know what's going on.
I know you're capable of something like that.
Either we go to dinner, we hang out, or we double up.
I'm the best bluffer in the world.
What a Premier League. Unbelievable.
Amazing.